Good morning, everyone. My name is Sani Saad Bunza. I'm your host on the Legal platform, and you are welcome to another episode. Together with me is Simi Pam. Simi Pam is a legal practitioner in Abuja, and we are going to be discussing on the differences between the criminal code and the penal code. You are welcome to the platform, Simi.
Thank you very much, Saad.
Okay, briefly to move properly into the program, kindly introduce yourself to the audience.
All right, good morning, everybody. Like he has already said, my name is Simi Pam. I'm a legal practitioner based in Abuja here, and I'm into human rights, I'm into environmental law, and I'm also into criminal litigation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And as our viewers are all aware, this platform is aimed at enlightening the public about the laws in the country and how the MDAs in the country functions. And today, just like we've mentioned earlier, we are going to be talking about the differences between the criminal code and the penal code.
Very well.
So, Simi Pam, before we delve properly into the topic, what is a crime? Because a lot of people think any act can be a crime. What is a crime?
All right, thank you very much once again, our viewers. Normally, when you talk about a crime, you are saying anything that is a wrong, anything that is an offense, but most importantly, it is an act or an omission which is prescribed by a law.
Okay.
That is the most important thing that you must note about a crime. Anything that is an act or an omission which is prescribed by a law that constitutes an offense, it makes it a crime.
Okay, by implication, not all acts are crimes.
Well, like I said, if it is prescribed by a law, because we have so many things that are not prescribed by the law, but we have crimes specifically that are prescribed by the law.
Okay, so like the criminal code and the penal code define certain acts and provided for their punishments.
Exactly.
So all those things prescribed in those acts or laws are crimes.
Very well.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, if a normal passerby on the street or a normal Nigerian asks you, how will you describe a criminal code or penal code to him?
Okay, first of all, because of the nature of the program, the penal code and the criminal code are substantive legislation. That is, they are like some of our major laws in Nigeria. You know, we have ways that the laws came into being and received laws, common law, but these two laws they are substantive law. So the penal code and the criminal code are encapsulation of laws. They are just like a law regarding crime, but put together in a particular book, just in a compendium and all that.
Okay, thank you so much. I think, just like you said, you've already given a proper description of these laws. So are these laws applicable? Because there are two laws.
Yes.
Normally, laws in Nigeria or acts in Nigeria apply generally across the federation.
Exactly.
So why are these laws so special?
Okay.
And why do we have two of them instead of one? Let's just say, okay, we have one criminal law documented document. Exactly. You understand? Why do we have this discrepancy of having these two laws?
All right. So, like I said earlier on, when we got our laws, it came in from the white people's crime, most especially the criminal code. Now we have the criminal code as far back as 1916 or so, whereby it came into being. And it was mostly laws of the English-speaking countries, that is British in particular. Now, we had laws, though, customs and all of that, but when we had the introduction of, when Nigeria was amalgamated, we were divided into two protectorates, that is the northern and the southern protectorate.
Exactly.
Now, if you notice, you discover that the practices in the southern part of Nigeria is different from the practices in the northern part of Nigeria.
Exactly.
Now, this makes these laws different because in the southern part, you may have crimes that are not in code crimes. So, if you apply the generality of the law, it may not work well. You understand? So then we also have the penal code, which guides laws or acts of people in the northern part of Nigeria. So it's just because of maybe the cultural and the geographical setting that makes these two laws a bit different. It's nothing so special.
Okay,
And
so in synopsis, you are trying to say that the criminal law or the criminal code is influenced by the received English
yes,
law.
then the penal code is influenced by Islamic injunctions. We have Maliki school of thought and all of
Yes,
that,
okay.
which came because if you notice the penal code laws, we have a lot of religious affiliations attached to that particular law, unlike the southern part of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
And so now, Barrister Simi, aside from these major differences, what other differences do these laws share?
Oh, well, there are other differences apart from the geographical differences. For instance, we have laws that are encapsulated in the southern part of Nigeria, but they are not encapsulated in the northern part of Nigeria. For instance, in the penal code, we have laws on, in the southern part of Nigeria, we have laws against bigamy. Now, the reason why we have laws against bigamy is because they do not allow the marriage of more than one wife. But then if you come to northern part of Nigeria, because the religion permits for polygamy, so it does not constitute a crime. Now, if a man goes ahead and marry more than one wife, it's not seen as an offense. And then we also have crimes like let's take, for instance, offense of murder. If you commit murder and then you raise a defense of, let's say, provocation under the southern part of Nigeria, it's in the southern part of Nigeria, the punishment it's mitigated. That is, it's reduced to manslaughter and not death by hanging, and all of that. So that is on conviction.
Yes.
Whereas in the penal code, it is not the same. The penal code, it's straight. When you commit, there is nothing like the defense of provocation, and so these are some of the differences. And then we have some minor differences also that are, that applies to these laws.
Okay, so in synopsis, the penal code applies to northern
states.
The criminal code applies to southern states.
Yes, the penal code, like I said earlier on, it's laws governed by Islamic injunction and some religious activities. Now in Nigeria, we have 6 geopolitical zones.
Okay.
And in the 6 geopolitical zones, we have the northwest, we have the northeast, we have the north central.
Yes.
Then we also have the south-south, the southeast, and the southwest. These 3, it's just like they are divided into 2.
Yes.
But we have 6 geopolitical zones. The northeast, northwest, and north central all have their laws under the penal code. That is the penal code, including the Federal Capital Territory. Yes. So
so the FCT applies penal code, not criminal code.
Exactly. So you can't come from Lagos and stay in Abuja and then you say the criminal code will apply to you because you are from Lagos, because of the geopolitical location of the state.
So now you mean if me, Saat, leaves Abuja and goes to Lagos, I'm not binded by the criminal code.
You are not binded. In fact, whatever you commit there, the criminal code is going to be used. Now, there's these differences also in the northern part of Nigeria, like I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
In the north, we have the core north, then we have the Hausa-speaking states, then we also have minority states which are not Hausa-speaking states. Now, if you bring, the penal code does not necessarily apply to Christians, yes, because the move, like I told you earlier, the penal code, some of the offenses there are religious inclined. Now, if you're a Christian and you do not submit yourself to those doctrines and the belief, you may not necessarily be tried under those offenses unless you accept or you agree. But once you're a Muslim, you have to be tried under those particular laws.
So what you're trying to say now is, if Chibuke is doing business in Kano, maybe Kantin Kwari,
yes,
and he commits an offense which is Islamically inclined,
yes,
so and he doesn't want to allow the penal code to be used on him, he can say, okay, Which law in that particular time
Now
circumstance
we
will be
have
applied?
we have the High Court. You know, the Sharia court normally governs those laws. But if that person at that time says no, I do not want this law to apply to me, he will now go to a conventional court. The High Court is a conventional court. The Federal High Court is also a conventional court as provided by Section 46. You know, especially if it is a violation of fundamental human rights of the person. So you are free to go to a high court, but it is not the same case with the Muslim person, you understand. So for a non-Christian, for a Christian, he can tell the transaction between he and a Muslim, no, I won't be governed by Sharia law. I will go to a normal conventional court. But for a Muslim, you will now have to be tried in that Sharia.
Okay, what about if a Muslim commits an offense in Lagos? Can he say he cannot be bound by criminal law?
No. That is another major difference. If you are a Muslim and you commit an offense, it does not matter your religion. The laws, in fact, the laws of Lagos State will be applicable to you. The laws of Ogun State, the laws of Enugu and Akwa Ibom and all of that.
There is a specialty with the penal code.
Exactly. The penal code itself is a bit special and, you know, has some peculiar laws that are not applicable.
So we can say now that the criminal code has like a form of general application,
Yes.
Okay. Now, thank you so much. Now, I think we've discussed this, that like the cultural influences these laws have and the religious influences. Now, Simi, the punishments in these laws, how strict are they? Some of them, maybe, are they fines, are they imprisonment, or just briefly on this one?
All right, like I said earlier on, the punishments, you know, the crime, we have the definition of the crime, that is the law prescribes, then provides the punishment for the crime. Now, if we have differences in these laws, then it means that the punishment will be different. Like the example I gave earlier on provocation. If the punishment ordinarily, if we are to use a particular code, let's say we are to use the criminal code now, the punishment for provocation will now be mitigated to that. Is you are able to prove that the offense you've committed, it was due to provocation. Although in the strict sense of proving provocation is difficult, because most people don't believe that you can actually get upset and react and all of that. So the application will differ in the southern part and the criminal and the northern part, depending on the law. If the law says you are to kill, if you kill, you'll be killed. It has to be that way. If your defense is self-defense, then it may be, you know, they may mitigate it. But if they cannot mitigate it in the other part, then they will not mitigate. So these are some of the
but there are also options of fine.
Then there are options of fine and imprisonment. But most of them, if the laws are similar, then they have similar, you know, they have similar punishments. They have similar, you know, monies to be paid and all of that. Though the laws are, like I've always said, the laws are archaic. And if you look at the fines, I don't know how they calculate it now. Because for a fine of 100 naira, at that time, you know, I don't think you can buy comfortably pure water with 100 naira now. So if you tell somebody to bring 100 naira for stealing now, it's just like a walkover. So the person
I think the courts nowadays, they apply the equitable discretion they have to look at the amount and the gravity of your offense to give you. Okay, now we are coming to the end of the program, and I think it's important we ask this question. Now, are these the only laws governing crimes in Nigeria?
Well, these are not the only laws governing crimes in Nigeria. Like I said, these just have general application because of the peculiarity. You know, Nigeria is a heterogeneous community. So because of the diversity in languages and tribes and even the religion, we need to have at least codified laws such as the criminal and the penal code, which I've explained earlier. Then with time, we discovered that there were offenses that are emanating, offenses which were not codified in the laws before. For instance, we didn't have a law strictly on corruption.
Exactly.
But during the Olusegun Obasanjo's regime, we saw the coming into light of EFCC and ICPC.
Exactly.
So the EFCC, sometimes you may think they are interwoven, but the EFCC is a body on its own. It's an agency that has the capability of suing on behalf of the federal government. If you have a corruption matter, for instance, you don't have to go to the penal code or the criminal code. Maybe it's not prescribed, but so the EFCC will regulate. The EFCC will take up the matter. We also have laws like the NDLEA, which deals with drugs. Before,
Yes.
I'm not saying there wasn't drug-related offenses before, but then it wasn't as pronounced as it is now, and elaborate as it is now. So we need laws that would guide it. So we have the NDLA, which is also another special agency that is scheduled. Then we also have cyber crimes, all these small offenses, which, like I said earlier on, they were not known, or people didn't really feel cheated and all of that. But now we need to have laws on all of those things.
Thank you. Now, we've come to the end of the program, but we will need your final thought on this topic generally.
Just to appreciate the program coordinator. I most appreciate your effort. Honestly, it's a topic that I didn't know people still find it interesting, because the way Nigeria is going, you do not know which is an offense again and what is not an offense. People commit jungle justice now, and you wonder whether we have the law. But I'm glad that we have people that still consider this topic important for us to know as Nigerians. And like I always say, Nigerians do not know the laws on ground. If you pick an average Nigerian on the street, just ask him a particular law, a particular crime, not even a law. Just ask him. Let's not even talk about from the National Assembly or whatever. Just ask him what constitutes an offense now. An average Nigerian do not know. So the commission of crime is high.
Yes.
To somebody, when you drag him into Yahoo, it's like another way of making money. But is that person aware that it is a crime? When I was serving in the southeastern part of Nigeria, particularly in Anambra, I met a boy who was 19 years old, and when I asked him what is he doing, he said he just finished secondary school. That's okay. What is next? Ordinarily, I feel he should be heading to the next level, university. And this boy proudly told me that he'll be joining his brothers in Lagos. And I was, okay, for what? He said they are going to teach him how to make money using laptop.
That's serious.
Now, when you hear that, as a wise and knowledgeable Nigerian, you know exactly what it means. If you see a group of boys, I'm not giving a general perception. If you see a group of boys, 3-4 of them with laptops and phones and chargers, you may likely know what they are into. But most of them do not know the gravity of the offenses they are committing. So to me, my word for the country is to keep learning. Opportunities like this come, we should give ourselves the opportunities to learn and make research, so that we will not keep making laws that are unnecessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, our viewers. We are most grateful for honoring our invitation. For our viewers, we really appreciate your time with us. Don't forget to follow our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time. Thank you.